I think we're all aware that Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and former President Donald Trump are not friends. They are not the best of friends. They're not BFFs. They're not hanging out at Mar-a-Lago. Nonetheless, McConnell said that he would support Donald Trump if he were to become the party's nominee in 2024. So these two things, while they are seemingly opposed positions, there's a reason for it. So now I'm going to detail that. But first, I want to go into a recent book that delves into their rivalry. Now, in it, McConnell is actually alleged to have supported the second impeachment trial put forward by the Democrats against Donald Trump. So now, the Democrats, they say, this is Alex Burns and Jonathan Martin from the New York Times, so the Democrats are going to take care of that son of a bitch for us. McConnell said of the House's 2021 impeachment proceedings. The reporting comes from Burns and Martin's forthcoming book, This Will Not Pass, Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future, which is based on hundreds of interviews with lawmakers and federal officials, as well as the contemporaneous documents through the 2020 election up through the aftermath of the January 6th insurrection. Now, in it, they detail how McConnell was furious about the insurrection. His wife, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, resigned on January 7th, citing what she said was a traumatic and entirely avoidable event. Here's what he said on January 7th, quote, "I want to say to the American people, the United States Senate will not be intimidated. We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats. We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation." Okay. Now, unfortunately, that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. He bowed to lawlessness and intimidation. In fact, according to the book, McConnell and other top Republicans had a brief window during which they could have, or they believed that they could force Donald Trump out of the party. Now, obviously, that did not happen. But in that time, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy went so far as to suggest that he would privately tell Trump that it was time to resign. Not that it would do anything, honestly. Not that Donald Trump would actually have resigned. But at least it would have had Kevin McCarthy in the record saying, well, you know, time to go, sir. Time to go. Now, McConnell also told two of his longtime aides over Chick-fil-A back in Kentucky on January 10th that if this isn't impeachable, I don't know what is. No, that's true. So then why did Republicans and McConnell all vote to acquit Donald Trump? Except for a couple of people, for example, Mitt Romney. Because it's about power. That's what it is. In the end, GOP leaders felt that their party, their base, would stand behind Trump. And he was right. They were all right. And they still stand by Donald Trump. In fact, look, that fact got McCarthy to back himself away from previous remarks saying that Trump bears responsibility for the riot, which he does. While McConnell supported Rand Paul's argument that he could not be impeached. On that, he said, quote, "I didn't get to be leader by voting with 5 people in the conference." So, again, this is a calculation that is all about power. Power. And that's relevant because all they cared in the end was making their voters happy and keeping themselves in power. And that meant not getting rid of Donald Trump. These people would let a democracy end completely if it meant that they could keep their positions, keep their power, keep their privilege. And it's not just cowardice when it comes to Republicans. It is a desire to keep corporate rule. They're donors, to keep them happy. Now, McConnell obviously overestimated the ability of Democrats to do anything, which I think is very, very interesting. Because look, the Democrats are weak and feckless by design, thanks to the owner-donors, money in politics, the outsized role of corporations and corporate rule, but he also overestimated the ability of the criminal justice system to handle Donald Trump. In fact, here's what McConnell said on the Senate floor on February 14th, 2021. Quote, "In one light, it certainly does seem counterintuitive that an office holder can elude Senate conviction by resignation or expiration of term. But this just underscores that impeachment was never meant to be the final forum for American justice. President Trump is still liable for everything he did while he was in office as an ordinary citizen, unless the statute of limitations is run, still liable for everything he did while in office. Didn't get away with anything yet." And now he won't. He won't get away with it because Merrick Garland is not going after Donald Trump for his role on January 6th. And look, you also have the Southern District of New York that has given up on its case against the Trump organization for tax fraud. And you can thank, of course, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a Democrat, who decided, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to go after Donald Trump. Now, as a result of the base's slavish devotion of Trump, McConnell's desire to cling to power, and the utter fecklessness of the Democratic Party, Donald Trump is going to skate. He's going to get away with everything, and he's going to run again. Very, very likely. Now, obviously, a lot of people are very, very concerned about this. In fact, here you had Alexandria OcasioCortez, who spelled out at a recent town hall why this is a disaster. Take a look.
If we lose the House, this is no joke. January 6th was a trial run. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that. It was a trial run. And they're going to come back. And they win the House. Here's the thing, the technicality of what happened on January 6th. The only reason it wasn't worse was because Democrats had the House and they didn't have the votes in the House. If they take the House, then they have the votes to not authorize and legitimize the presidential election, whatever the results are. And so this is very serious.
Now, whatever you think about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's 100% correct. Look, under the 12th Amendment, if no candidate receives an absolute majority of the electoral votes, the House can choose a president. Now, look, a few things obviously have to happen for Republicans to be able to do this, and one of it involves electors. Now, wait a minute, do you remember? I've done a lot of reporting about phony electors, fake electors, showing up and submitting phony documents to the National Archives, saying that, oh no, because of voter fraud, Donald Trump won, when he actually didn't. And so we've seen that. None of them have been arrested. None of them have gotten in trouble for this, even though they have been found. I mean, we have found the documentation. Sometimes they have even affixed official state seals onto these documents that were fake. We also have seen 144 congressmen reject certification. So understand that a large amount of the Republican Party is in favor of just rejecting democracy. That's it. That's it. And again, if you have enough fake electors, you have enough confusion surrounding the election, enough allegations of voter fraud, which are not true, and again, Republicans controlling the House and rejecting the votes for whatever Democratic politicians happens to be running, then you could have a situation where the House of Representatives could choose a president. That's insane. Now, traditionally, that has been very unlikely to happen, but it has happened before in the United States' history. Look, Republicans, for example, in 1877 and in 1825, by the way, and the whole reason, of course, the 12th Amendment exists is because this had happened. In 1877, Congress decided the election between Hayes and Tilden. Tilden won both the popular and the electoral votes. However, Republicans in 3 southern states rejected that certification. Now, that led to the FEC being created, the Federal Electoral Commission, which included representatives, senators, and Supreme Court justices, who then voted along party lines to give all the contested ballots to Hayes, who won the election by a single electoral vote. In 1825, Andrew Jackson versus John Quincy Adams. And you also had, of course, William Crawford and Henry Clay. That was a contested election as well. None of them got over the threshold of electoral votes. Now, Jackson did have a majority at 99 versus Adams 83. However, none of them had the majority enough to clinch that win. So now the House got involved, and who did they choose? They actually chose John Quincy Adams to be president. So now again, this is, yes, this isn't unprecedented. This has happened before, and yes, it could happen again. Now, it's much more difficult nowadays because now you've only got 2 parties that are viable in this system, and so you'd have to have a very, very, very close election, which can happen. Now, should we worry about this? Normally, I would say, at least before all of this, I would have said no. But now, look, over the past 6 years, things have happened that have been very unlikely. A lot of people would say were very unlikely to happen. Donald Trump winning, for example. So many unlikely possibilities. The Capitol riots, the Republican Party's open embrace of conspiracy theories and fascism. Many, many things that people just years and years ago, 10 years ago, or even when I started, 2013, 2014, couldn't imagine have happened. Now, I'm starting to think that at this point, nothing seems too crazy to happen, especially when it comes to Republicans seizing power.